Reddit is massive. Millions of users, endless posts, and usually it's nothing more than people talking, joking, or venting. But hidden deep in the threads are accounts that feel wrong, posts that don't add up, users who appear, say something bizarre or chilling, and then disappear without a trace. No explanations, no closure, just a lingering sense that something was seriously off. Today, we're exploring some unexplainable Reddit users, the ones that left behind more questions than answers. Let's get into it. We start with a user who went by the username u/yayvideogames. At first, the name seemed harmless, just some guy online who really liked video games. But once you start reading his posts, something feels off. His messages had no context and no logic whatsoever. They read like someone stuck in a completely different reality, typing out thoughts that didn't belong anywhere. He had been on Reddit for a while, to be specific, since 2010. He had a lot of interests: gaming, anime, editing, animation, mountain climbing, and surfing. Out of all these interests, as his name suggests, he was more into gaming. He would talk about games in various subreddits. For instance, in February 2010, he commented under a post in r/gaming about Bungie being saddened by Xbox Live closure. And they work responsibly well too for the original Xbox, but good old Microsoft took note of that and made sure to kill it for the 360. All games for the 360 have a ping limiter built into them that will make the game drop out if the ping reaches anything beyond what you'd expect from another box in your house. I tried it with a friend a few blocks away and it cut. There's no way you'd be able to play with random people like you do now with Live. So yes, you have your alternative when the Xbox dies, but when they shut down the 360 live service, you won't have anywhere to go. Pretty normal, right? But that didn't last. This account ended up becoming one of the biggest mysteries Reddit has ever seen, spiraling into a rabbit hole so strange no one could figure it out for years. During this time, the user also shared some of his personal experiences, which are, let's just say, not very ethical, but do give us an idea that he liked to have some fun every now and then. In a post made under r/Reddit, yayvideogames shared one of his experiences about hacking into Facebook accounts and impersonating people in conversations with religious counselors. Until here, everything was fine, but then something shifted. In August of 2010, a user named Red Applecore made a post in r/gaming asking, "Does anyone else turn subtitles on every time they start a new game?" And yayvideogames decided to jump on the thread. Instead of dropping one comment and moving on, he posted 16 back to back, and every single one of them was, well, a little weird. Does anyone else ever play the game on hard first time through? I noticed me and my brother always do this, yet it never seems to be the default difficulty. Does anyone else ever just turn a game off when the credits start rolling without sitting through them? Does anyone else ever adjust their settings directly in the settings text file where possible? Does anyone else ever play through a game a second time with the commentary on because they were interested in what the devs have to say? And so on for 16 more posts, very similar to that. Each comment felt completely random, like he just typed whatever popped into his head and hit send without thinking twice. There was no structure, no meaning, just scattered thoughts thrown into the comments. But that was just the beginning, because a little while later, he had another episode, and this one was worse than anything Reddit had seen up to that point. The incident occurred in September 2010 when a user named I Wish I Was a Meme started a thread in Unexplainable. Just got Oblivion for PC. What are your favorite mods? I want to make this game as pimped out and awesome as I can. Yay Video Games saw the post and decided to make a comment. The uninstall button. The game is great and all that, but God, is it hard to fully remove all the junk it leaves behind on your system. You really need to check out that mod when the time comes to get rid of it. Someone responded, "What? The uninstall button? The game is great, but you?" And Yay Video Games replied, "Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye, always on DRM." Another user said, "This makes even less sense. Oblivion has an uninstall button. It works. I've used it more times than I care to mention. All mods install themselves in Oblivion's directory. The uninstall doesn't touch them as it is unaware. All you do is delete the Oblivion directory. Yay Video Games. Steamworks bye-bye, always on DRM." Now, this is where things start to get really dark. It happened again. Another episode, but this time it wasn't just 16 strange comments. He posted over 4,000. Let that sink in. For a regular person, even typing 500 comments would take an entire day of non-stop work. And that's assuming you're not eating, sleeping, or taking breaks. But this guy managed to push out 4,000. And here's the part that completely breaks logic. Every single comment was unique. Different wording, different sentence structure. Which means that he did not copy and paste the same phrase over and over again. They were all manually typed, like he was in some kind of trance, just hammering away at the keyboard. Some of the comments even had bizarre low-resolution images attached to them. And it didn't stop there. After the comment storm under the same post, he then created an entirely new thread with the exact same title. Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye, always on DRM. Then the same phrase is repeated over and over again in the comments of the thread. The situation worsened when he started spamming other random phrases in different subreddits. Lol benign, lol benign, lol benign, explanation park. And then so on for a long time. And the spam didn't stop right away. It actually dragged on from August into September of 2010. Sure, he posted a few normal things here and there, but when you stack that up against 4,000 bizarre, unexplainable comments, the normal stuff barely mattered. Eventually, the account was suspended, and after that, nothing. Complete radio silence. But by then, the damage was done. The Reddit community was hooked, and people wanted answers. None of it made sense until users started digging, and what they uncovered revealed a much darker truth. Suddenly, everything started to fall into place. For this, we have to go back prior to the Steamworks incident, because the Yay Video Games mystery actually involves 4 other Reddit accounts. The first one being u/NOSUBSTANCEHERE. They made a post in the r/cleanliness subreddit, and all it said was one simple, strange sentence. Zelda the princess. Weird post, sure, but if you scroll down to the comments, that's where things get strange. There's a user named Not Sure How Big You Are, spamming the thread with comment after comment, none of which made any sense. Link the hero, my hero, mine too, upvoted. The posts had weird phrasing and just odd wording. However, we still see the original poster somehow interacting with this user like they were having some sort of cryptic conversation that no one from the outside could really understand. Sounds familiar, right? Well, yeah, it did to everyone else too, because if you actually go and open the r/cleanliness subreddit yourself, you'll notice something strange, something that ties it all back to Yay Video Games. He was there too. Magic. I need some for help. I would not use it evilly. Going back to the spam and the Zelda post, we can see another user with the name u/vinyl record throw making another similar comment. Zelda. And if we open his profile, we will see a familiar pattern and a familiar user, none other than "not sure how big you are. I'm on vinyl, I'm on vinyl." Now, if you haven't guessed already, all these accounts belong to the same user, Yay Video Games. The reason is that all of these accounts went inactive after the Steamworks incident. Then, different Redditors did their own digging, and finally, the truth about Yay Video Games was revealed. He was no ordinary person. He had a history of trauma and bad experiences that made him behave that way, and his fate was no less than tragic. But before we talk about that, let's uncover who he was as a person. A user named u/geekgentleman posted a thread asking a very serious question. Please share one major way in which CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, has shaped or influenced your life. Under this thread, the user "not sure how big you are" made a comment. A very detailed and chilling comment. It totally destroyed my brain. Not just normal brain fog, but total and utter decimation. I can't hear my own thoughts sort of thing. So I had to give up surfing, skating, mountain climbing, white water rafting, hiking, like week-long trips over mountains with tents and stuff, roller hockey and free skating, which is just amazing. The leader of our group used to time traffic lights so we could just blaze down city hills without any cars bothering us. The objective was to gain enough speed to jump clear over the intersections. I managed a few times. And finally, urban exploring or just walking around at night and enjoying the atmosphere. So then, I turned to my non-physical stuff: piano, keyboard, mixing and remixing, video recording and editing, animation, full deal, sound work, music composition, voice acting, etc. But my brain gets messed up, so that's all gone too. Oh, and fun story, while I was sitting in my room in excruciating pain, my best friend, whose band I had to drop out of because of my mind and energy issues, were touring in Russia and Japan. Right now, they're in Germany negotiating a better record deal and playing around a little in Europe while they're at it. They also got a small spot at this little thing called Wacken. And there's also the pain. So, to sum it up, no brain to do things, no energy to do things, and bad pain, don't know what to do. Also, I was getting better a little while ago, but then I had a 2-month flu, and a few months later I still have a constant fever of 38 degrees Celsius. No one knows why, but I've been through 3 tests for cancer in the last 3 weeks, so apparently it's something bad. And I guess at least they're trying. Go cancer, yeah. He was suffering from CFS. For those who don't know, CFS stands for chronic fatigue syndrome. Sounds simple, just being tired, right? But no, it's way worse than that. This isn't the kind of tired you fix with a good nap or a good night's sleep. People with CFS wake up feeling like they ran a marathon in their dreams every single day. It messes with your memory, your focus. Even basic stuff like standing up too long can make you feel like you're about to pass out. And the worst part? Doctors don't fully understand it. There's no single test for it, no clear cause. And for a long time, people who had it weren't even taken seriously. They were told it was all in their head. The account, "Not sure how big you are," was an absolute goldmine for people looking to uncover this mystery. It had really extensive comments and a lot of personal information. It was then uncovered that this might have been his main account. In yet another comment made by him, we get information surrounding his family, which is quite sad. I don't know how much help this will be, but I drew my entire family out. Pioneering mom, dad was the PO, 2 siblings, when I was about 12. That was preceded by years of awful fights and abuse beforehand. but eventually I got them out with what was, I guess, essentially emotional blackmail. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the right term, but there wasn't any logical debate or eye-opening involved. In any case, I confronted them with all the awful stuff they subjected us to over the years, how unhappy we'd always been, over and over again, until the fact that this life wasn't working sort of sunk in. So, aftermath time, Mom can't set foot in a Kingdom Hall because she's ashamed of all the things she did, and Dad is stuck in limbo, the usual out but still a believer sort of story. I think the parents would be much happier now if they were still in, but us kids needed our out then and there. He was also quite active in the ex-Jehovah's Witness subreddit, where he used to talk about his contrasting beliefs. So it is safe to assume that he was also dealing with moral, ethical, and religious dilemmas. After that, I found another post on his account that revealed a darker truth about him. He was also dealing with suicidal thoughts. So tired of being tired and getting worse. Well, I do know that ending yourself is either really hard or really painful. I feel more or less like you, so I had a shot. I downed a whole lot of a certain anesthetic I got my hands on, took a ridiculous amount of clonazepam, prepared about 1,800 milligrams of codeine to wash it down, and went to sleep with an exit bag overhead, tied with a belt. And what do you know? I messed that up too. Don't know how, but apparently oxygen got in because I was knocked out for a good 12 or so hours in that thing, and yet I'm still here. When will I get a break? Actually, no brain damage was probably it. You know what, God? I don't appreciate being a joke, and then my circumstances improved quite miraculously due to an outside force within a few months. I'm aware that's not exactly encouraging for someone in your situation, and I still wouldn't mind not waking up tomorrow, I suppose. But there will always be some tiny sliver of hope somewhere out there, and you can fight that dignity decline. Fight for it until you really need to sign off for good, all the while hoping for a miracle. So in short, now we know what kind of person Ye Video Games was. He had a history of trauma, he was suffering from a disease that had no cure, and he was an ex-member of a religious cult. However, the big question still remains. Who is behind this account and what happened to him? Well, you guys better be ready, because all this information might be a little hard for some of you to take in. For a long while, this mystery remained unsolved. Many people tried to cover it, but they were always left with dead ends. However, a Reddit user named u/LNK3R did some digging and finally managed to connect all the dots. There's one more account we need to look at, another alt. This account went by the name u/Neblox. In a post made by Not Sure How Big You Are, we find out that he was from Melbourne, Australia. Surprisingly enough, the user Neblox was also from Melbourne, Australia. Don't you wish the radio was actually a means to find out new music? Down here in Melbourne, Australia, we have Triple J, among others. No playlist, every song played is completely up to the host. The user then found out that the user Neblox had made posts about a game called Glumbuster and the Lula Land series, which were very unpopular game series. Surprisingly enough, another alt of his named Pony Arcade had also talked about the game Glumbuster, along with the account that we started with, that is, Ye Video Games. LNK3RR then also mentioned that there were only 29 comments ever made about the game Glumbuster at the time, so this was a pretty solid lead. Now, the main incident that gave it all away was when the user Neblox made a pretty similar post to what we started with. A user posted, "What the hell? Redditor goes mad," and Neblox answered by saying, "Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye, always on DRM." And surprisingly, the post was hyperlinked, which leads us full circle right back to where we began. To top it all off, the user also found Neblox's Steam account, which created another connection, as the profile picture on that account matched with one of the links Yai Video Games hyperlinked in one of his spam comments. Now you might be thinking, this is just another alt. We still do not know what really happened to him. Well, the username Neblox turned out to be his original username. You know, the kind of username you created when you were 13 and then stick with it for the rest of your life. It was then revealed that he had used the name Neblox on countless other sites. However, one site in particular led to the big reveal. You see, he had an account on last.fm, and if we go to his profile, we can see that he had his real-life friends added there. Out of all these people, one person particularly stood out, Luke McClure. He was a member of a band called Jack the Stripper. In the account, Not Sure How Big You Are, he had mentioned that band in one of his posts. This connection then led people to connect all the dots, as they found an interview that Luke gave to an online magazine. In that interview, he said, "My best friend, who I learned how to play music with, and who was always a massive advocate of the band and everything we've done, committed suicide last January. That's had a profound effect on everything I've done since that point. He was my best mate and my first friend in high school, so it's been a difficult period and it still reverberates emotionally." Yay Video Games had committed suicide, and for a long while, no one knew until some random Redditors and YouTubers made the connection. Later on, once everyone had connected the dots, Luke actually came on Reddit to make one final post to sum up the whole story about Yay Video Games. The post read, "Hi guys, I'm Luke, and I'm one of Yay Video Games' best friends. Ask me anything." First off, let me say it's a great surprise to see such a big community around my best mate. I had no idea about this until today. His name was Lyndon, and we lost him at the beginning of 2015. Life hasn't been the same since. Someone reached out to me on Facebook, so I thought I'd come over here and shed some light on Lyndon's life. Lyndon was an amazingly kind and intelligent guy who was really creative. He was constantly creating art and music, which he never recorded to my knowledge, animation, of which I have some of the archives, and he loved storytelling. He had a small group of friends in real life as he bailed on high school and started isolating himself due to his chronic illness around 2005. We miss him very much. Due to his Jehovah's Witness background, he never really let us know the day he was born, but based on bits and pieces I picked up over the years, it would have been about his 31st birthday last February. I know he would have loved that there's this much mystery around him after he's left us, but I think there are some important topics to cover here regarding chronic pain, self-medication, invisible illness, the health system, and how important it is to seek to be among others in some way. I hope that we can draw some closure out of this and hopefully move a little closer towards having further understanding and compassion towards people who may be in the position Lyndon suffered through. This whole case turned out to be a powerful reminder of what Reddit can be at its best, a place where strangers come together not just to scroll or argue, but to truly care. For years, the mystery behind U/Yay Video Games and his manic episodes was brushed aside. Most people had no idea what happened to him or even who he really was. But then, a group of users started digging. They pieced everything together, one comment at a time, and in doing so, they didn't just solve a mystery. They gave meaning to something that had once seemed like pure chaos. I like to think that wherever he is now, maybe he felt it. The care, the curiosity, the compassion. Maybe, just maybe, it gave his spirit a bit of peace. Alright, the next user we're diving into is a little different. He did things so messed up, some people now call him the most hated man on Reddit. And honestly, once you hear what he did, you'll understand why. Now, this story isn't exactly neat. It's not laid out in one clean thread or some dramatic post. It's scattered. But I've gone ahead and pulled it all together for you. The account itself was made 18 years ago, ancient by Reddit standards. For a while, it looked like nothing special, just a helpful guy, mostly posting about coding. He gave out advice, answered questions, and seemed like a regular tech dude. This post on his account suggests just how normal he was on the outside. I'm thinking about starting a course soon on how to build a real web application that actually generates income. I'd be live streaming the entire process of programming it, business planning, etc. Hello everyone. 2 months ago, I made this post asking if there would be any interest in this project. There was a great deal of interest, and so I have launched the project. The whole idea here is to present a realistic picture of what it is really like to work on a real project in a true professional setting. I'm not building some demo or example program, but an actual, real, valuable web application that will make revenue. Pretty normal guy who liked to code and hustle. Then, on September 25th, 2009, he made a subreddit called r/Carl H Programming. At the time, it seemed like just another niche community, but his timing was perfect. Back then, programming was one of the hottest things on Reddit. People were obsessed. It was constantly trending, showing up in top searches and dominating discussion threads. Carl knew that, and he took full advantage of it. His subreddit offered free programming lessons. Everything from how to write your first line of code to more advanced stuff most people would have to pay to learn. And people loved it. The subreddit took off like wildfire. New coders started pouring in, asking questions, joining discussions, and treating Carl like a trusted teacher. Soon he got really popular on Reddit and YouTube, though soon trouble found him. He posted, "Reddit, can you please help me? For 5 years I have lived with this, and I do not know what to do. I hate to put something this personal out to everyone on Reddit, but I'm desperate. 5 years ago, an internet marketer agreed to do a venture with my company. At the time, he then tried to claim I owed him thousands of dollars in commissions, which was false. He threatened that if I didn't pay him, he would ruin my reputation. He posted a false rip-off report on me in 2005, a total lie, claiming I stole from his checking account. This now comes up as the #1 result on Google when searching for my name. The whole Reddit community really looked up to him, so they helped him out, and it worked. In one of his posts he wrote, "Amazingly, so many of you did this that for part of June 30th, my name was actually the 5th most searched for item on Google worldwide, even beating Larry King on the day of his announced retirement." Many of those searches came from people who just happened to see my name from your post and went to Google to figure out why so many people were saying it. Reddit, in a matter of less than 12 hours, you shifted the search behavior of the entire internet in much the same way as a major geopolitical event. At least tens, if not hundreds of thousands of searches were done for a search term that prior to that point had few, if any, searches. Things were working out really well for him. His YouTube channel had gained over 34,000 subscribers, and on July 26, 2012, he was even named Redditor of the Day, which was a big achievement for people on Reddit at that time. In 2013, all of his accounts suddenly went blank. people thought he had maybe gone on a break, but he never came back. A few weeks later, something dark was revealed. Around the same time, the FBI in Alabama came across disturbing content involving a young boy who appeared to be around 9 years old. Because the child was clearly a minor, they prioritized the case and were able to identify and locate him in under a week. It turned out the boy had been held captive for several months, and there were 2 prime suspects for this heinous crime who tortured him and filmed it all. The boy, as it turned out, was Carl's own son, and that single detail shifted everything. At first, some thought Carl had gone silent because of something tragic happening in his personal life. Maybe he was grieving, maybe he just needed time. But instead, he used that time to continue the harm he had been causing the child for more than 2 years. When the news finally surfaced, one Reddit user shared a detailed article explaining the situation. The community was stunned. No one had expected this. The same man who had taught them how to code, who seemed helpful and kind, had been hiding something unthinkable behind the screen. Carl's entire reputation collapsed. His once praised posts were now filled with shock, betrayal, and outrage. In November 2014, Carl Herold and his partner Charles Donovan were officially indicted on 30 separate charges. Out of those, Carl alone faced 18, ranging from conspiracy to commit assault to direct involvement in child abuse and aggravated assault. Some of those charges specifically involved a child under the age of 12. At that time, Carl was also in the process of being extradited in New York, where he was facing federal charges related to child exploitation material. He was set to appear in a federal courtroom in Syracuse on November 21st. However, before that could happen, something much darker took place. On November 3rd, 2014, Carl was found dead in his cell. He had hanged himself. His story had finally come to an end. Nothing could ever undo the damage he had caused or the pain the child went through. But there was some comfort in knowing that justice had caught up with him. The Reddit community, once full of people who admired his work, never saw him for who he really was, and watching him face the consequences brought a sense of closure. His chapter was over. As a bizarre twist to the story, nearly 2 years after Carl's death, his Reddit account suddenly came back to life. Out of nowhere, a comment appeared that read, "As I posted a thread on 4chan, you can read up on it. Yes, this is Carl Herold. I escaped and am currently in Russia. Going to submit an AMA today. For proof, I in fact did fake my death." Naturally, Reddit users started digging. They asked for proof, questioned everything, and then the account responded again. "I escaped from a morgue." Of course, it was obvious someone had hacked the account, but in a weird way, it felt like the perfect ending to Carl's twisted legacy. His story started online, it ended in a prison cell, and then, for just a moment, it came crawling back from the internet grave. Soon after everything we've just gone through, I'm guessing you're probably ready for something a little lighter. Well, this next one is for you. This one's more like a slow-burning existential dread, the kind that makes you stop and question reality itself. And it is a classic, so I hope you guys enjoy this one.